My name is Indica, and I'm going to present the project called Demo-Age Analytics. The project aims to describe the Demoscene and their productions in detail, as well as provide some comprehensive understanding about scene-specific characteristics. I'm going to provide an answer to the question if the visual quality of demos are measurable. So comments, discussions, or any questions are welcome later. The success and popularity of demos is, of each production actually, particularly depends on the individual, let's say, perception of each scener and viewer. And of course, can be, becomes apparent in ratings and votings. So there is nothing to be said against this subjective assessment to find some, let's say, basic quantifications of that huge collection. I suppose this individual appraisal relates to the visual composition and music, the coded tricks and developed effects, but also the popularity of each demo group, the history, the lobby, but also competitors in each competition category on each scene-specific event, but probably some more parameters. By analyzing mainly the visual quality of demos, I'm interested in the visual quality of a demo based on composition and color. And I'm interested in if these aspects are somehow measurable by quantitative methods, as well as verifiable by or with visualizations. So let's give you some examples. I'm going to sit down now. The Demoscene plots represents aesthetics based on scene-specific design principles and techniques using diverse computational platforms. This is well known, and it's also known that they are rarely communicating stories or any messages, even if projections are not thematically classifiable or inspired by sci-fi. The development and composition of elaborated visuals in relation to music is the main emphasis and shapes the aesthetics of each production. The overwhelming variety of demos does not follow any traditional art principles or guidelines. Traditional art historians even would call the Demoscene and their projections as bubblery. So in fact, particularly the digital art scene is really different than the traditional art scene. And there no longer exist, let's say, some masterpieces as a reference of an era. If some productions can be seen as cutting edge or gain extreme popularity, and even if certain techniques are formative, the spectrum of the productions in each category is quite huge, and it can be agreed that the creating demos is not only playing with hardware. Nevertheless, not every production applies valid aesthetic principles or consequently achieves a certain visual quality. So as an active scener, you probably would know some really elaborated demos, but what criteria beyond the scene-specific classifications, such as type, platform, release party, ratings, awards, the overall popularity, should non-sceners apply to objectively distinguish between good or not so good productions, and are these criteria comprehensible, measurable in some way. The basic chronological montage of all demo screenshots or scene screenshots from PueNet in the background here already shows some distinctive features. For example, let's just zoom in into that huge visualization. For example, over here, you can see something really eye-catching, or even though here, or here, or here. So, oops. This one over here, for example, is just a DiskMax series which has been imported into PueNet database one after another. So you can just scroll through that screenshots. It also gets clear, in the lower part of this image, let's say around here, you can see a lot of mostly black screenshots. And by zooming in, it gets really obvious that these screenshots are mainly C64 screenshots. So looking to the history of PueNet database, obviously, in particularly here, the C64 database has been merged to PueNet. So visualizations, first of all, provide a basis for exemplification and support the comparison of, we have here over 65,000 screenshots. And the temporal montage of representative screenshots shows at the first look that the whole collection differ regarding composition, but in particularly regarding color. So this is probably not really new to CNES, however, it's getting obvious through visualizations. And thus, primarily using visualizations, I'm focused on analyzing the composition of Demoscene productions, particularly regarding color. Let's go to the next for example, this. I'm going to talk about that picture later. The composition relates to the arrangement of visual elements and ingredients in a work according to certain art principles, such as color harmony, rhythm, balance, unity, but also movement in a figurative sense, which refers to the set of scenes and sequences based on a script or storyboard. I presume that in particularly the arrangement of scenes and sequences in relation to coloring shape the aesthetic quality of a demo production. So structural units or parts of each demo, generally known as scenes, can vary not only regarding length, but also in terms of frequency. In movie making, the term sequence is used to refer to a composition of, the term sequence, is used to refer to a composition of scenes, while the term setting is used for shorter scenes. So this is actually really similar to demo production. Demos are also based on sequence of images, consists of scenes and settings. The arrangement of demo sequence is similar to the narrative composition. In movies, generally based on an entry scene, including the logo and title in the beginning, and a closing scene, including credits at the end. But the overall frequency of scenes and settings generating the main content is not always linear. Cyclic and random arrangements are also exist in demos. In addition, the color is defined by 3 relative properties, such as hue, saturation, and brightness. These attributes influence the main perception of any visual media. Hence, visual perception includes the perception and processing of visual stimuli, and further, the recognition and interpretation of relevant aspects. The color is one main criterion to analyze visual media or visual art in general. In the background, you see a montage of all Atari demos sorted by ranking, and each demo is converted into a sequence of 1-second frames. At one glance, actually, you can see the spectrum of each demo. For example, one starts here and ends here. This is quite obvious. Or another one starts over here and ends here. So the length actually and the variety of color gets quite obvious. Let's go to some details. You can see here a montage again from an Atari demo core. Actually, you can at one glance see a linear composition with a highlight here in the middle of, more or less in the middle of the demo. And you can also see some repeating settings and some repeating scenes over here and here. The average, both. Next, again, a linear composition. Doctor, also an Atari demo. With that montage, it gets clear that this demo based on 14 scenes, and breaks can be identified by black screens in particularly. Furthermore, text scenes get obvious, images, also effects, used shapes, colors, and so on. Compared to the first example, this one already shows much more repeating scenes than the last example before. This is another Atari demo. Compared to the 2 examples before, this one, Gehirn, consists of 15 scenes arranged cyclic, not linear, which means that all scenes except the entry scenes over here, entry scene over here, is repeated over and over in different variations. The cyclic arrangement gets much more clear in the next example, Prost by DSS. That 4K VCS demo consists actually of 2 scenes and 1 setting repeated 3 times and then change order and get repeated again. Another example of cyclic arrangement with actually flashy colors is Transmat. This is one of the most unpopular Atari VCS demos on PueNet. The next one is Drip Bin. And it's a good example of a random arrangement. So the whole demo is based just only on a single image of different colors changing by predefined intervals. Okay, what's the point here? By analyzing 48 Atari VCS demos, it is shown that 31 based on a linear composition, and 12 show a cyclic, 1 a random arrangement. The 10 best rated demos, always have a linear composition. Unpopular demos with low ratings are mostly based on cyclic arrangements. It can be summarized that the presented montages are very well suited to illustrate the composition of a demo, to provide a general overview of the storyboard and about general characteristics of a demo. The montage visualization shows a huge, let's say, range of aspects and details and characteristics. For more examples, you can go on wider screen. There's a publication published in 2014 with much more examples. But let's say now how the composition relates to the color. For this, I'm going to show you an Amiga and a PC demo as an example. Next. The montage of the Amiga demo Human Traffic, for example, consists of total 10 different scenes. Blue is the dominating color in this demo, and there are only one red, it's over here, one green, or yes, one yellow, and or yellow-green, and some bluish scenes in between. At the end, an eye-catching cyclic repeating part over here obviously finishes the demo. Besides the montage, the color values I already mentioned, brightness, hue, and saturation, can be calculated over every single frame and can be represented in a histogram in order to make a statement about the used range of each property. Here you can see a histogram of the same demo, represents brightness in relation to the time of the demo. You can see the average color spectrum, indicates gradients of color based on brightness with really smooth transformations between each scene. Some scene changes are very dark over here. And actually, this assumption can be confirmed that the recognized salient colors represents some highlights. The red scene again here, the bluish scenes, the green, yellow scenes, and the mentioned repeating bluish scene again at the end. Really interesting are the transitions between all these scenes. Another example is, again, a cycling fourth. So this demo consists of an entry scene, the flower scene, the moon scene, the scene with the, burning beast running through the forest, then the scene running, the running man and woman scene over here, and again an end part, and this one is really eye-catching actually, and of course that burning animal as well. So the ambience and overall composition is extensively discussed and emotionally discussed on PUENet in the forum. The community, of course, has over 400 comments to that demo. So color is almost non-existent, and there have been no coda colors used. Let's see the histogram of this demo. Again, the brightness value of each frame verifies the fact again. The average brightness value is about 16, so it's quite dark, or let's say monochrome demo. But it's really interesting that the most colorful picture is over here, with a brightness value of 120 something, and which is obviously the highlight again of this demo. The transitions are not as fluid as in the previous example, but nevertheless, the cause is really recognizable. So what are these metrics about? With the help of histograms, the frequency distribution of metric characteristics of color values in an image can be visualized. So 2 statistical measures exist that can be used to quantify these metrics, which is the median and the standard deviation. The median value can be used to determine image typical trends across a series of frames. Alternatively, the standard deviation provides the ability to define the average spread of each feature. So both values can be calculated for hue, saturation, and brightness over an image and can be used to make a global statistical statement about any image material. Particularly, for example, in photography, histograms are used to control and correct exposure values in images. So in this context, both measures play a significant role. The next example, let's go back to the Atari demos, is a histogram of all Atari demos by descent ranking from left to right, plus their brightness median. So many frames concentrate in the lower range of the color values, but furthermore, it's noticeable that we have a distribution of frames in the high color values range again. Atari demos actually are mostly dominated by effect packages and coda colors instead of homogeneous compositions, linear compositions. These demos are characterized by abrupt scene changes and color variations without fluid transitions. Here, again, the core VCS demo we have seen just earlier in a montage. This histogram shows actually, again, the brightness value over time. And most frames are quite colorless and dark. And we have a highlighting over here, a highlight here. We have not that, let's say, fluid sequence of frames, but rudimentary again. The flow is recognizable. And yeah, actually the histogram and the calculation of the brightness median just confirms the assumption. This is the histogram of Doctor. So we had that example before. The whole demo is just, let's say, divided into single pieces, distributed over a wide spectrum. Similar to the previous demo, the color spectrum is quite monochrome, and transitions between scenes do not really exist. I mean, do not exist. The next histogram is the example Gehirn, which is similar to the previous example. Transitions between scenes do not exist. Furthermore, the demo consists of colorful scenes instead of monochrome ones. The histogram of Prost, okay, just mentioned. The just mentioned aspects are getting even more clear here. Again, no transitions, just only different color variations and scenes over time. And the same, even more extreme, applies for Transmat. I mentioned earlier it's one of the most unpopular demos in relation to or compared to Core, which is actually the prod which has the most higher rankings on PUENet. Okay, in summary, again, what can be said First of all, to achieve a higher ranking, it is recommended to create a linear arrangement based on homogeneous and monochrome colors. The use of colors should be reduced to just represent some highlights within the whole composition. In addition, the presented study that shows that the visual characteristic of each demo is of course measurable by calculating the median and the standard deviation value for brightness, hue, or saturation. The comparison of all demos show that popular demos by trend are based on lower median values with less dispersion, while unpopular demos indicate high median values with a large deviation. Hence, those demos are, let's say, much more bumpy. So coming back to the entry question, I would say yes, the quality is measurable. And furthermore, visualizations in general are really helpful for exemplification and to support understanding. The presented approach offers a way to verify the quality of a demo prediction. In fact, the presented approach verifies also the popularity of rankings represented on PUENet by the example, in particular, of all Atari VCS demos, and also exemplarily based on some PC and Amiga demos. Not only that, 2 examples, some much more. Okay, finally, another fancy visualization. So this is a polar visualization, represents the hue median value of each PUENet screenshot, starting here. And so the screenshots are, the radios, and in relation to the PUENet ID as a perimeter. So the average color characteristics and distribution over yellow, green, blue, red hue values of the screenshots gets really significant. But we have here a whole. Let's have a look just what is this about? Okay, and let's zoom in. So obviously related to the montage I showed before, we have here again, according to the PUENet ID, the C64 demos, which are mostly black and in
50 Shades of Brown.
And this is why they are just gathered here in the middle, where the median value is quite low. Yes, and we can see also that in C64 demos, again, blue is quite dominating. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes?
Can you predict the rating of a demo if I give you the demo and you analyze it with the metrics you described?
You would need much more parameters. For example, you need, of course, a general, let's say, opinion parameter about the whole community. Well, it's like looking into the future. Maybe you can say there is a trend. Yes, I would say that this is possible. According to that category, let's say, platform category, or related to the type and also to the competition category. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
First, I'd like to say I was drunk when I made post in my defense.
Yes.
Yes. well observed. But you mentioned the median value. So are you saying that just brighter demos are more popular, or is that correct?
More lower are more popular.
Okay, so darker, basically.
Yes.
No, I don't think it's brightness, it's the hue variation.
Yeah, isn't it the standard deviation? It's more
If it's too colorful and changing too fast, then it's rated more bad.
But in the example, I had the brightness median.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
But the
Tricky.
hue, I can show you, if you like, if you're interested in, I can show you the hue visualization as well, and the saturation visualization for your prod as well.
Do it. We can. Yeah, I assume you don't have it ready, but yeah.
Okay, right now or later?
Yeah, we can do it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your talk. Very interesting stuff. I would be kind of tempted for you to generalize out some rules, like 10 rules for making a popular poet demo or whatever, and then some of us guys would try to implement something doing those 10 rules or something like that. If that's at all possible, like 10 rules for good UI design, something like that, right? If we had to obey the 10 rules of making a really bad pop song or whatever.
Like a receipt?
Yeah, something like that. Would that be possible to sort of use them prescriptively? I think that's what we're all getting at.
As I said in the beginning, it's really subjective anyway to rate a demo. It's an individual, let's say, combination of several aspects. The visual one is just only one part.
Of course.
So I would assume that, of course, the personal history of the group, and the lobby, and let's say the greetings at the end play another really significant role. So probably you can relate it in relation to the color or the composition. A really good receipt would be to, just try to make a linear arrangement with some fluid transitions, and keep on monochrome colors, and use the really, let's say, highlighting colors for some aspects you want to show in your demo. So this is actually...
Thank you.
But as I said, also, when you look to the Atari scene, it is really just packed full with effects.
So what are you looking for ideally at the back? What are you looking for ideally, like in terms of visual? I mean, is it color, proportion, contrast, timing? What makes a good demo?
Color is really important,
Yeah.
because it's the most important criterion people analyzes any visual art.
So you're looking for it to fall within the sort of visually appreciable range of colours and...
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
So
absolutely.
personally, I mean, you don't like it to vary too much, or what are you looking for? Homogeneity? I mean, what is it in there?
It's the recognition of each the people are recognize it. Let's say the harmony, the harmony of the colors, which is based on the variation of brightness, hue, and saturation. The harmony must be just homogeneous and fluid.
Homogeneity is it really? It's
How much what?
Homogeneity is what you're looking for. Well held together, compound.
Can you? I don't know. What?
You want the theme to be well held together. The whole thing to like really come together. That's what you're looking for, is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I mean, I'm really hard to understand you here.
Yeah, it's difficult. There's a lot more to it, though. This guy at the front, I had an argument with him because he said, "Could you create a metric to say how well a demo would be rated?"
Yeah, actually, the median or the standard deviation is a metric to just confirm. I confirmed, let's say, based on these two metrics, the actual feedback on PueNet.
Yeah.
So, of course, I just analyzed in detail, let's say, 80 of 65,000 demos.
Yeah.
Probably you should analyze much more to verify these.
But I agree.
Approach.
There's a lot of things like in the world out there, like ratios and
Yes.
things, and color proportions and dynamics designs, and all these sort of things, which help make things look visually appreciable. And I'm sure there's an
That's
art
right.
behind that and sort of things as well. So
Yes, but rudimentary, I think I would say that explicit color, I mean, related to brightness or saturation and hue is the main visual aspect which is recognized by the individuum.
yeah, okay, that's interesting. I'm sure there's food for thought.
Maybe we should just let's take these criteria as well. If you have a you should maybe you can put all that stuff together and make a huge analysis, but you have
No, it's true, because what happens in the center of the palette is only part of the work, isn't it?
It is absolutely just only a little part of the whole demo world.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Your line, thank you.